Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Welcome to the Thunderdome podcast. Yep, this is me trying another podcast, and it's just me today. Like I said in both my email and a little bit in the Royal Rumble video. I did try to do this with Sam last time. We recorded everything. I had edited everything. And then my fucking program that I use just deleted everything right at the very end. And I worked on it for fucking 7 hours or something like that. So it was not fun seeing that just kind of go poof at about midnight. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the Aaron Judge 61st home run situation that's going on right now. Yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, he tied the AL single season home run record by hitting a home run in Toronto. And it was speculated that home run ball was going to cost anywhere between $500K and $1 million just for the significance. And so Judge hits his home run pretty early in the game into left field. And the fan who was going to catch it reached over in the first row there, and it hit the fucking his glove and went into the bullpen right below. And they kept showing him it was kind of fucked up, but they kept the Yankees broadcast kept going back to the fan and showing him, and he looked like he just watched his fucking dog get hit by a car. Just the fucking look of just pure despair on his face. He looked like he was about to cry. He kept taking off his hat and fucking waving it through the air in disgust. He dropped his glove. It was just a bad scene, and I feel bad. I feel bad for the guy. He fumbled the bag hardcore. I encourage you to go look at that. Go look at that clip. It's heartbreaking for that guy. But the look on that guy's face when they show him the first time was the exact look on my face when I found out that my podcast I've been working on for 7 hours fucking deleted right in front of my eyes. So. So I'm trying again today, just doing it by myself, so that way if it does happen again, at least I'm just wasting my own fucking time and not Sam's or anybody else's. So I went to the gym after work today. I was there for about an hour, and then I went into the locker room to change, and some old guy came in, or something really old guy came in, and I had my shirt off, and he goes, "Excuse me, son, you're very broad-chested." And I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm built like a fire hydrant. I look like a Lego guy. I know. But I was like, okay. And then he said, yeah, you're old broad chest. If you were an old-timey ship, you'd be called old broad chest. And I was like, sir, can you put your dick away? I think I've said it before in an email in the past. It may have been last season, or maybe it was this season. I don't know. I have the memory of a fucking parakeet. But I want to share one of my favorite jokes ever with you guys, and it's about this guy who his wife collapses, and so he takes her to the hospital, and after, he's in the waiting room, and the doctor comes out and he says, "I'm sorry, sir, but your wife is in a coma." And so the guy just goes, "Oh yeah, oh my God, how could this happen?" And then the doctor goes, there are ways of waking her up, but they're a little unconventional." And the guy goes, "God, I'll do anything, to wake her up. It's my wife." And the doctor says, "Okay, well, it's worked in the past, but you need to go in there and start performing oral sex on her." And the guy goes, "Oh my God, really?" And the doctor says, "Yeah, like I said, I've seen it work in the past." So the guy says, "All right, I'm willing to try." So he goes in there, and after about 5 minutes, he comes back out, and he says, "Doc, she's choking." But you're not here to listen to me tell jokes. You're here to, I would say you're here to listen to me talk about fantasy football, but I'm not even sure that's the case either. But I'm going to do it anyway. before I get into everybody's matchup, we're just going to go and just take a look at the standings here. Now, Case is the overall leader. He's got sole first place right now at 3-0. He is just fucking smacking everybody. His team's fantastic. He's projected at 140 points this week, or 141 or something like that. It's fucking ridiculous. He's got the most points for. He's 3-0. Case is very much the person to beat. Next up is Vic. He's 2-1. He's second in points for. And then last week we had Case and Vic face off, so somebody had to lose their O, and it was Vic. So Vic's 2-1. Then we got Colin at 2-1. Colin's team is very good. It's nothing short of a fucking miracle. I beat him last week. I think it was like a Make-A-Wish thing, to be totally honest with you, just so I didn't completely shut the league down if I went 0-3, because I have that capability. Let me see here. Matt Morelli's 2-1. He's off to a good start. Al is 2-1. Emily's 2-1. And then we get to the little bit lesser group here with Abby at 1-2. Sam, after kicking the living shit out of me in week 1, has dropped his last 2 games. He's 1-2. Ben's 1-2. Liv's 1-2. I'm 1-2. And then from the very bottom looking up is Matt Glassmeyer, who just can't catch a fucking break, it seems like. He was finished DFL, got the DFL trophy last year, and despite getting the first pick in the draft this year, he starts 0-3. This has been a weird start of the year for football in general, let alone fantasy football, but it's way low scoring, like lower than it has been in the past. I was looking into it earlier today. Running back scoring in particular is way down this year. If you'll notice, like none of the star running backs, like the Christian McCaffreys, the Jonathan Taylors, Aaron Jones, all the elite, there's so few elite running backs in the NFL, but even the ones that are on that level, like, the S tier running backs are starting slow. So it's impacting fantasy football. So it's all the big guys right now are wide receivers, it feels like. And it's weird. It's a really weird start for fantasy football and just football in general. So, here's hoping that improves as we go forward here. All right, let's go ahead and just jump right into the matchups. I'm recording this during the Thursday night football game, the Bengals and the Dolphins here. So forgive me if I say something that it doesn't end up mattering here in a couple hours. But this is just as I'm recording. This game's going on right now. It's me versus Matt Morelli this week, and this is the first time all season that I've been favored to win. It was like 130 to 126. I have Joe Burrow going tonight, he's got off to an okay start. As of right now, he's got 75 passing yards. And he just went 3 and out. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I've got Joe Burrow going this week. This should be, hopefully gets better, but this was supposed to be a high-scoring game and should hopefully be good points for Joe Burrow. Alvin Kamara, he was a little bit better last week. He had 15 rushes for 61 yards. He hasn't found the end zone yet, but they really like him. The fantasy guys really like him against Minnesota. Khalil Herbert, I did pick him up because I read that David Montgomery in Chicago was injured, and Herbert was supposed to get 90% of the workload, if not 100% of the workload, if Montgomery is going to be out, which is expected at this point. So I did pick up Herbert. Giants are giving up a ton of rushing yards, so that's a great spot for him. Deebo Samuel hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but I feel like he's due. He's gotten double digits every game. Deebo historically just smashes the Rams, and I'm really hoping that trend continues against the Rams this week. Or that's actually the Monday night game this week. Marquise Brown was fucking insane last weekend. He had 30 fantasy points, 14 catches, 140 yards. I can't imagine that's going to happen again, but he's very clearly the number one wide receiver in that offense right now. Carolina's not very good. That should hopefully be a good spot for him. Jeff Wilson Jr., the Rams have been really good against the rush, but I feel like there's just nobody else in that backfield right now for San Francisco. Debo's not rushing the ball, at least yet. So Jeff Wilson Jr. should, it just for volume's sake, it should be an okay game for him. I'm still kind of wondering what I want to do in my flex. Right now, he's my option. I think he'll be okay. I did pick up the Philly defense. That team's crazy good right now. Their defense is really good. They've got the third-ranked defense. They were on waivers. I know Jacksonville has been a surprise this year. Their offense has been good, but in Philadelphia, I'm riding with that team right now. They're going to be tough to beat, especially at home. So I'm going to take a shot at the Philly defense. So yeah, overall, I really do like my matchups. I think all except for Debo, I think, or Debo and Jeff Wilson, my San Fran guys. Everybody has a good matchup on paper anyway. So this has definitely been, in terms of matchup wise, this has been my favorite week so far. So we'll see if they capitalize on that or not. As for Matt Disperenia, I really fucking hope I'm saying that right, but nobody has corrected me yet, so I'm just going to roll with it. Tom Brady should be better this week. He has had no receiving core whatsoever to work with. That abysmal game last week against the Saints, not really much he could do. He gets a better matchup in Kansas City this week at home, and he should have Chris Godwin back, it looks like. He's going to get Mike Evans back off of suspension. And maybe Julio Jones, I think. He may have all three of his wide receivers this week. But if that's the case, he's in a much better spot against Kansas City. Javonte Williams is going to be in a good match up against the Raiders this week. That's always kind of a fun AFC West rivalry game. It's going to be tough. That game's in Vegas. They're the only team in the league that's 0-3. They're going to be just desperate for a win, and the Broncos aren't exactly lighting the world on fire right now, so might be tough, but I still think Javonte Williams gets a lot of the ball. Miles Sanders against Jacksonville is in a great spot. He started this season with 18 points, 11 points, and then regressed back to 5.4. That's always just going to be the risk taking a Philly running back with Jalen Hurts and how much he runs the ball. Like in any critical situation, he's going to run the ball. So that definitely hurts Miles Sanders' workload. But if he did it in the first 2 weeks, so there's no reason he couldn't do it again. This week against Jacksonville, where Philly really should win at home. Jamar Chase against Miami. I know the fantasy guys weren't super sold on him this week. They thought he might regress a little bit, just because Miami's secondary isn't too bad. It hasn't been great this year, but they were just going to smother him all game. So they said to kind of just temper expectations with Jamar Chase. And at least as of me recording this, he has 1 catch for 8 yards with 5 minutes left in the first half. So as of right now, they're right. But you just never know. He could break off for a big one and get some points. A.J. Brown's in a great spot against Jacksonville. I don't really need to talk about that one too much. Juju Smith-Schuster, he was better last week. He got about 14 fantasy points. Still hasn't found the end zone, but I feel like they're going to have to throw the ball in that game, and they're going to try to throw the ball to Juju. So, and then the Chicago defense, the only good part of that team is the Chicago defense. I know they did win last week. That game should be so fucking bad between the Giants and the Bears. Should be set up for not a lot of points. Oh, Tua just got fucking slammed on the back of his head, and he's like just laying lifeless on the ground right now. Oh, God, that was bad. Ooh. Oh, anyway. Like the Chicago defense this week. So it's going to be close. I had the projected edge over Matt by just a little bit. I did have my 15 minutes of fame last week by beating Colin. Wouldn't be shocked if I go back the other direction this week. But I don't know. I do like my matchups. This one should be close. Sam and Al. And speaking of Tua, Sam decided to go with him this week. And this is not a good sign for that at all, because he literally just got power bombed on the back of his fucking head after dealing with concussion symptoms last week and coming back into the game. So this one looks a lot worse than last week. So that's not a good sign at all, considering Tua has currently 2.4 points on 110 yards and a pick. And we might not see him for the rest of this game. So that's not a good start for Sam, who did go with Tua this week. James Conner's been kind of dealing with an injury. He does face a tough rush defense in Carolina, so That's kind of a tougher one. Same with James Robinson. James Robinson has surprisingly been really good to start the season. Fuck, I think he's the third ranked running back right now, which, going back to my point I made a little bit ago, of how weird the fantasy running back situation has been this year. But James Robinson, he does have a tough matchup against Philly, whose defense has been good on both ends, on the ground and in the air, but they're going to have to do whatever they can to get points in that game, Jacksonville is. So I think Robinson should get the ball in his hands quite a bit. Justin Jefferson, he has a tough matchup against the Saints, for sure. It's not gonna beat around the bush. He has a tough matchup. I think there's too much worry about him right now, because he hasn't been a fucking freak of nature like he was in that first game. Just chill on Justin Jefferson. His time's coming. I don't think it's going to be against New Orleans, who's been just really, their defense has been good, but you never know. They're gonna try to get the ball to him every chance they get. So Devontae Adams, I don't love him this week because Patrick Surtain is gonna be all up in his ass, and he hasn't allowed a fucking reception yet, let alone like a touchdown against his position. He hasn't allowed a guy that he's been covering to make a fucking catch. And I know this is going to be the best guy that he's faced so far in Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams is going to catch some balls in this game. That's not arguing that, but I think both the Sam's wide receivers, Jefferson and Adams, you got to temper expectations a little bit. They've got some tough matchups. That game is in Vegas, which gives them a little bit of a boost, but overall, I think that's kind of like a meh kind of a matchup. I love Drake London's matchup. Atlanta versus Cleveland. Drake London's been really good. He's my pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's currently the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's just getting more and more involved in that offense, and Cleveland is not exactly a world-beating defense by any means. So I do like Drake London in that one. And looks like he's going with the Cleveland defense in the next spot. Always tricky to play a guy against your own defense, especially Drake London, who, if he has a really good game, he could see, 20 plus points, which obviously is going to hurt you on one side. So it's still early, but as of right now, Sam, instead of playing, he could have played the Miami defense today, or he's going to, kind of double-edged sword play Cleveland's defense unless he decides to make another choice. Sam, it's tough. He's got I think he has the best wide receiver core in the league, but tougher matchups for him this week. Now, Al, I just realized he changed his name to Just Shot My Waddle. That's just fantastic. I expected nothing less of him. Lamar Jackson against Buffalo. Lamar Jackson has been just a fucking freak of nature. Like, there was no questions of his athleticism. I know he dealt with a little bit of injury last year, but holy fuck, he has come back this year and has looked like a monster. And Buffalo's going to struggle stopping him a little bit. I don't think there's a team in the league that's going to keep Lamar Jackson from, with mediocre numbers. So it's a great spot for Lamar Jackson. I think this is I've been saying it like 2 weeks in a row now, but I think this might be the Austin Eckler game. He's in a great spot against Houston. They're, with Herbert dealing with his injury, Eckler, there's probably going to have to be involved. I don't think they're going to be way behind like they were against Jacksonville. So I think in this game, I think they're really going to try to get Eckler the ball. I think they're going to try to get him in the end zone. It's a good spot for Eckler in my opinion, but my opinion doesn't mean fucking anything. Josh Jacobs, I think is in a good spot against Denver. I think Denver is way more beatable on the ground than they are in the air right now. And Jacobs has been pretty good to start the season. So if they do score, or if they get, at least around the red zone, Vegas, I think Josh Jacobs very realistically could get in the end zone on this one. Tyreek, his situation just got a lot tougher now that Teddy Bridgewater just came into the game. They literally just took 2 out on a fucking stretcher because his brain got turned into like a Slurpee. So this gets a little bit tougher for Tyreek, who was on a pretty good start. He had 4 catches for 51 yards here before as of right now, with 5 minutes left to go in the second half. Teddy Bridgewater fucking sucks ass, so that's going to make Tyreek's day a little bit tougher. But in a game which could see Miami get down in the second half, they're going to have to throw the ball, and they're going to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill. They're going to throw to Waddle. We'll just kind of keep our eye on that one. And Gesicki, same thing in that Miami offense. I think Gesicki benefits a little bit more than the wide receivers with Bridgewater coming in. It'd probably be a lot of short passes. Gesicki already caught one for like 20 yards. I think we're going to see a lot of more short dump off tight end passes here in the second half just to keep the ball moving. Cortland Sutton, I think honestly is probably like one of like the two guys you want on the Broncos for fantasy purposes right now. Very obviously Russell Wilson's favorite wide receiver. He's our best wide receiver. So in a game which could have a lot of points in it, or the Broncos might need to keep close, Sutton's obviously a great choice. And then I love San Francisco defense against the Rams. I think that game, a lot of people are going to think a lot of points are in that game. I think the opposite. I'm going to bet under as long as it's nothing crazy. And I like both defenses in that game. San Francisco's tough, and they're playing at home, so I do like San Francisco on Monday. So overall, this is a close one. Sam is projected at the favorite, and I'm sorry, Sam, but I think Al has just maybe slightly better potential at bigger points. Just with Lamar Jackson and Eckler, I think those two guys play huge factors this week, especially Lamar Jackson, but fuck, I don't know. I'm 1-2. I lose a lot of bets. I don't know shit. So that's just my harebrained opinion. All right, Colin and Abby. Colin is making another QB change this week. He went from Matt Ryan, who got like 1 point, so he gave him the stanky boot, to Joe Flacco, who got like 3 points last week against me. Thank the fucking Lord. So he got the stinky boot. So now he's trying Jameis Winston. And I totally understand that right now the QB situation on the waiver wire is not great. But Jameis Winston is fucking horrible. It's kind of just boom or bust for Jameis Winston. Half the time he throws the ball with his fucking eyes closed. So that's why he gives up, like fucking 50 picks in a season. And you just never know in this one. They're at home to Minnesota. They're going to probably have to throw the ball, which is frightening. But I don't know. It could be good, could be bad, could be somewhere in the middle. Fuck, what do I know? I don't think Jameis Winston's good. I think it's a risky play against anybody because it's Jameis Winston. But fuck, who knows? Oh, who is that? Oh, go Higgins. Go Higgins. Oh, yes, I bet Higgins to score a touchdown. That was huge. Oh, I love it. And that's a Joe Burrow touchdown. Fuck yeah. Okay, back to what I was doing. Fournette's in a good spot against Kansas City in an offense, that Tampa Bay offense, that should look way better, way more normal than it has here the last few weeks. Fournette's been off to a slow start. I really think they're going to try to get him in the end zone. Saquon Barkley is another one. He's been great to start the season. He's my bet for comeback player of the year. That's not really taking a huge stance, so don't applaud me or anything like that. But I'd like Saquon in this one. Chicago is tough on the rush defense, but I think Saquon gets so much of the ball because that passing offense sucks so fucking bad for New York. I think just on volume alone, I like Saquon. Michael Pittman against Tennessee. God, that Colts defense has been so fucking bad to start the season. I know they beat the Chiefs, last week, but they did get shut out by the Jags before. So I think it totally depends on what version of Indy you get this week. Tennessee has not been a lockdown defense by any means. So it's a good spot on paper for Pittman. It just all depends what version of Matt Ryan you're going to see, what version of the Colts offense you're going to see. So I think it's an okay matchup. Same with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Detroit's been heaving the ball all year, and especially and DeAndre Swift's out, so they're pretty much going to throw the ball a lot, and which I think you can do against Seattle. They're in Detroit. They're at home, and you just love St. Brown pretty much in every matchup. He's wide receiver number one, so you like him there. Same with Hawkinson. I think he has a good matchup as well. And then I love Green Bay's defense this week. Mac Jones is going to be out. They're saying he ruptured or tore some ankle ligaments, so he's going to be out for a while. I think it's like Hoyer is the backup quarterback in New England, and Green Bay's defense has been fucking great to start the season, and they're in Green Bay. That's a top 5 defense for me this week, so I love that. So yep, go figure. Pretty good matchups for Colin and that team that's just fucking completely stacked. As for Abby, we'll quickly start with T. Higgins, who's off to a really good start. 2 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. I just literally just watched it just now, so off to a great start for Abby with about 18 points for T. Higgins. She's got Patrick Mahomes going against Tampa Bay. Mahomes has been it's been kind of a weird year for Mahomes. He's been okay, hasn't been amazing. I think he's still a top 5 fantasy quarterback though. He put up like 47 points against Arizona, 22 against the Chargers, and then 18 against Indy. So he's kind of, regressing a little bit each game. I think he gets his toughest matchup of the season so far for him in Tampa Bay. They're going to be with the hurricane that just went and fucked up everything there in Florida. That they're going to be rallying hard around Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to be playing for the state, the community, all that shit. So I think Mahomes gets a toughie on this one. That's the Sunday night football game. Dalvin Cook is dealing with a little bit of an injury. I know he's healthy on fantasy, but he is dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury. So the ESPN guys anyway say that he's probably going to have some muted workload. He's going to be sharing with Alexander Madison. That game is in London though. So if you're watching that one, if you want to watch it, get up early. That game's at 7:30 because it is being played in London. So it's not a bad matchup for Cook, even though he is playing a tough New Orleans defense with a nagging injury. So I lied. That's not a great matchup for Cook. But Dalvin Cook's a beast, so fuck, you never know. Damian Pierce is another one, too, who I thought was dealing with a little bit of an injury this week. I'm reading here, he did return to full practice today after dealing with a hip injury, limited on Wednesday. So Damian Pierce is in a good spot against the Chargers. He's looked really good here as we go on through the season. Each game he's looked better and better. He's finally gotten past Rex Burkhead for the number 1 job, and rightfully so. So Pierce is always just going to be like a set it and forget it guy as long as he's healthy. He gets a ton of the ball. Mike Evans is back from suspension, which is great. Honestly, that matchup against Kansas City's pretty not good secondary. I think Tom Brady's going to throw the ball to him a shitload now that he's back, just to get him back up to speed. And Amari Cooper has been great. Holy shit, what a start of the season for him. I thought with Deshaun Watson just, fucking raping his way out of the NFL for the first 6 weeks, that he was really going to struggle, that he was going to get hit hard by that, but he's been really, really good. And he has a good matchup this week against Atlanta, who are just not good at all. And then that Tampa Bay defense, same thing. Talked about Tampa Bay, really good spot for them. So Abby is the slight underdog right now, 131 to 135. And she's off to a great start with T. Higgins. McPherson's kicked 2 extra points for 2 points. And this will be a close one. I think Colin probably has a little bit better matchups, but yeah, I don't know. I think this one's it's rightfully projected. I think Colin may nick this one, but fuck, if Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston, then God, he could get 10 or lower points this week. So I guess we'll see. All right, next we have Matt Glassmeyer versus M. It's tough for Matt because he has, like I said earlier, he has a really, really good team on paper, but they are just like shitting on his nuts right now. And he's 0-3, which is crazy. Like, you'd look at his team and you would never think it, but I mean, he sure is. But he gets some good matchups this week, luckily. Aaron Rodgers against New England. That's in Green Bay. I love Green Bay in this one. New England's going to have to try to win it on defense, but fuck, at Lambeau, I could see Green Bay putting a fucking noogie on those guys this week. Jonathan Taylor has, everyone's saying that he's having this shitty season, and I know under his standards compared to last year, I guess he is, but I mean, he's still running back number 10, in fantasy. He's still the 10th ranked running back. And Tennessee can be run on. And I think they really try to get Taylor involved in this one. If it's not going to be Michael Pittman, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. I do like him to get a touchdown this week. And the Titans are yielding like the 7th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So it's a good bounce back game for Jonathan Taylor. Aaron Jones, you can rope him in with Aaron Rodgers. Same thing. That I really think Green Bay is going to kick the fuck out of those guys this week. Keenan Allen, he was limited today in practice with his hamstring injury, but it's, at least from what I'm reading, he's leaning towards playing a little bit. So if he does, that obviously brings a huge boost to the Chargers. They might not try to go to him every play if he's just dealing with kind of that niggling hamstring injury, but him being back in the lineup's huge. Houston is not a scary defense at all. So if he's healthy and he ends up playing on Sunday, I think that it's a good spot for Keenan Allen, who's going to try to get back on track quickly after missing the last 2 games. Christian Kirk has been great for the Jags, and that Jags offense has been fantastic. Right now, Christian Kirk, of all people, is the number 6 wide receiver in fantasy. He's had 2 games finishing with 19 and one against Indy for almost 26 fantasy points. So he's in a really good spot this week, just for volume's sake, probably, because, I mean, Philly is a tough draw, but Jacksonville's going to have to throw the ball to stay in that game. And as much as they're utilizing Christian Kirk, he could, at least for PPR purposes, he could be in for at least a decent showing. He's not going to put up, I really don't think he's going to put up, like 26 points, but he could get somewhere around like 10, 15, which I think in that matchup is totally respectable. Kyle Pitts has probably got to be one of the more frustrating guys. I know for Matt, he probably has been. After he got 3.9 in both his first 2 games and then did get 13.7. So they did find a way to finally utilize him last week. And they should do so against Cleveland as well. So as long as they actually fucking throw him the ball, I like Kyle Pitts this week. And Cordarrelle Patterson, too. Fuck, he's the number 5 running back. This fucker's like 30 or 31. Like, everybody was writing him off before the season that it's like, fuck, he's too old to be like their playmaker, their pass catcher, their lead rusher. And he's put up 24 points in 2 of his 3 first fantasy games. He might have a little bit of a tougher time this week against Cleveland, but God, the way that Patterson's moving, I expect him to get into double digits for sure. So, all right, moving on to Emily. Josh Allen against Baltimore. It's fucking Josh Allen. Josh Allen is Josh Allen. So that game should be great. I'm hoping it's not like a letdown dud, kind of like it was when they played Miami last week. But Josh Allen's the Baltimore secondary has been so bad. So if he's good and throws the ball, which he's gonna, find Diggs, find Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. He's got options. That secondary in Baltimore is not only hurt, but it's just been porous as hell. So Josh Allen's in for a great matchup, I think. Joe Mixon has scored a touchdown in this game we're watching right now. He's got 14 points, off to a good start. This game is close here, just about halftime, so Mixon should be involved. They're not doing a good job of stopping him, so I expect him to get some more points as this game goes on. Mike Williams, I like him better than Keenan Allen. That'll be kind of fun for Matt and them to see which one of their pass catchers in that Chargers offense has the bigger game. If it's me predicting it, I think it's Mike Williams, who is just the healthier guy. He torched the Chiefs a couple weeks ago for 27.3 fantasy points. Regressed a little bit back against Jacksonville, but did score for 8.5. I like him to get in the end zone again, and just because he's the healthier of the 2 pass catchers, I probably like Mike Williams a little bit better. Garrett Wilson has been one of the surprises of the season. He's the number 14 fantasy wide receiver right now. He gets Zach Wilson. The Jets get Zach Wilson back, and I'll be curious to see what the rapport is between between Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson. And we know Garrett Wilson was getting the ball thrown when it was Flacco, but now with the going back to their star quarterback, we'll see. That's going to be a toughie for the Jets in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at home is always a tough one with that good secondary, that good defense. So, but it's another situation in which they're probably going to have to throw the ball. So, if you have to have a pass catcher on the Jets, it's obviously Garrett Wilson. Goddard has had a really good start to the season. He's a top 10 tight end every week. He's gotten into double digits 2 out of the 3 weeks. There's no reason he shouldn't do that against Jacksonville. It's whether or not he can get into the end zone. He did do it last week. He's getting anywhere between like 3 and 5 catches on average this season, and I think that's totally possible again for him this week. Kareem Hunt, it's just kind of a tough with Kareem Hunt. It's boom or bust. It's all whether he gets in the end zone, how much they utilize him. He's gotten 9.4, 9.1 the last 2 weeks. But he's actually getting the ball quite a bit, even with Nick Chubb there. He's getting double-digit touches in every game, and he's the pass catcher of the 2 running backs. So if they utilize him, I don't know how much they're going to utilize him because I think Nick Chubb could eat alive the Atlanta rush defense. But if they utilize him, I think 10 points minimum. This one's projected really close. We'll see how Mixon finishes the second half here. If he gets in one more, M's going to probably bump ahead in the projection. As of right now, she's down. She's projected to lose by just a few points. It's 131 to 127. Matt has the better matchups, probably, but it's the Josh Allen factor. He's such a fucking world-beating fantasy matchup changer that if you get the best version of Josh Allen, he could get you 50 points. But that being said, Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, 3 really good matchups for Matt. So it's going to be a much needed win for Matt. If he goes to 0-4, I think it's going to be really tough for him not to finish, toward the bottom half unless he goes on a tear. But Matt will really be hoping not to go 0-4. But we'll see. This is a good one. This is one of the closer ones that we've seen so far. All right, Ben and Vic. So Ben and Vic both changed their names. Ben is now Below Knee Bologna, or Bologna, but yeah, Below Knee Bologna. That's funny. I like that one. And then Vic has gone and changed his name again to Brachialis on Rye. And it's another like anatomy-based cannibalistic food reference. I'm assuming brachialis lung? No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm dumb, so I'm not even going to take a shot at it. But anyway, that's what his name is. Ben has got Kyler Murray against Carolina, who, I just said going back to that Arizona offense has been okay, but they haven't been great. Kyler Murray is the 12th ranked QB in fantasy right now. He's put up 23, 25, and then 15. You just kind of don't know what version of Kyler Murray you're going to get. He's obviously very athletic, very talented, but he's been underwhelming so far. Lack of touchdown passes, really, is what it's come down to. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes in 3 games, which is, for Kyler Murray's, in his standards, is pretty low. So he gets a toughie in Carolina, but it's Kyler Murray. So I think he's good for at least 15 points. I think that's his floor. Christian McCaffrey, he is dealing with a thigh injury, and he did not practice today. So that's going to be one. Keep your eye on him for Friday, because if he doesn't play, then you've got a huge problem. And welcome to the world of owning Christian McCaffrey. This is just an every week fucking problem. This guy could get hurt taking a shit. So if he plays, it's Christian McCaffrey, PPR, it's great. If he doesn't, you've got to figure out what to do. That's not good at all. DJ Moore, slow start for him. He has found the end zone once and did it against the Giants, but he put up 2.5 points last week on 1 catch for 6 yards. He it doesn't get a whole lot easier for him against Arizona, but I don't know. That's kind of a tough one. He needs to. They should be trying to get him back into the offense, especially if McCaffrey doesn't play. I think it all really all depends on that. I think if McCaffrey doesn't play, especially Moore is going to get more of the looks, but it has been kind of a slow start for him so far. Brandon Cooks, I like him this week. I really do. I think the Chargers defense is beatable. I don't think they're going to get absolutely roasted like they did against Jacksonville, but that's in Houston. Brandon Cooks is kind of just the guy that they have to throw the ball to. I think this is a game where they're going to have to throw the ball. It's a good bounce back spot for Brandon Cooks. Kelsey, yeah, it's hard not to like Kelsey in pretty much like every game, obviously, but I don't love the Chiefs in this one at all. I really like Tampa at home, but I mean it's fucking Travis Kelce. You know he's gonna get the ball. They do have a tough pass defense. Tampa does, but Kelsey's going to get the ball at least a few times, and especially he's the red zone target. So I think it's going to be touchdown or bust for him in terms of having like a good fantasy output, but it's very doable. Judy, I don't feel as good about him as I did at the start of the season. You thought Russell Wilson, new offense, Hackett. And all of that's been fucking terrible so far. And it hasn't gone well for Judy at all. I think Judy is a better real life athlete than he is a fantasy athlete. And Russell just haven't clicked. Fucking, they were great in preseason. Russell said, Judy was like his guy in preseason, and we just have not seen that at all so far. He needs to kind of earn his way into fantasy lineups. He finished with 2 points and then 3 points in his last 2 games. And I don't think it gets a whole lot easier this week in Vegas against just a completely desperate for a win Vegas team. Just not right now. Not with how Russell looks, how Hackett's running the offense. It's a toughie for Judy. There's some decent things in there. Overall, you got some tough matchups there. Vic rolling with Russell Wilson. I just talked about it. Fucking Russell Wilson. How do you trust him as your fantasy quarterback right now? Holy fuck. He's the 21st ranked quarterback. And he's finished with 24, pretty good. And then 13, not great. And then 9 against San Fran. It's just like, how do you trust Russell Wilson as your fantasy quarterback right now? And against this Raiders team that's going to be trying so hard to win at home, not my favorite matchup. Edwards-Helaire don't like it. I don't like it. He's been great. He's the number 4 running back in fantasy right now. But he gets a toughie in Tampa Bay, especially their rush defense. They kept Alvin Kamara totally quiet last week. And I think they're going to do the same to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think if anything, Kansas City's going to be throwing the ball more than anything. So it's not as good of a start as CEH has had to start the season. This is where he hits a little bit of a wall, I think. But again, I don't know anything. I'm wrong all the fucking time. Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. Obviously, fucking, he's gonna score. He'll probably score against San Fran. You would think. But, I mean, he did get completely shut down by Arizona somehow. He caught 4 catches for 44 yards. I mean, 16 points. He did rush for a touchdown, which is the weirdest thing fucking ever. San Francisco's been good. That game's in San Fran, but it's Cooper Kupp. You can't. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a game in which Cooper Kupp doesn't get at least 10 points. Damian Harris against Green Bay. He's going to be busy just with Mac Jones being hurt, but don't love any part of the New England offense this week. Terry McLaurin, I think he could have a decent game against Dallas. Dallas defense is pretty good, especially at home, but they're going to have to throw the ball. Terry McLaurin's had a good start to the season. He's the 22nd ranked wide receiver. He's finished with double digits in every game. He has 1 touchdown. Don't know if he'll score this week, but I think somewhere in what he's been getting, 12, 14, somewhere probably around there, 10 to 15 points, I think is very doable for him. Mark Andrews, probably will score against Buffalo. Fuck, he's had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. He's finished with 10, 27, and 28. I could see him having a similar game like he had against Miami. He had 9 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown, 27, about 28 points. Buffalo struggles against high-power offenses and like high-profile players. So Mark Andrews should be just fine in that game against Buffalo. That should be a total shootout. Jamal Williams is good to have for Vic. Good for him for having him, especially with Swift being out this game. Jamal Williams is good, and he's a good pass catcher. He had 24.7 points in his last game, 2 TDs. It was mostly on the ground, but he had a couple catches. He had 20 yards worth of air yards. So I think it's a great spot for Jamal Williams against a Seattle team that definitely can be beat, especially in Detroit. And then it's that fucking Buffalo defense. Even though, as good as the Buffalo defense has been, they're going to have a tougher time with Lamar Jackson, especially when Lamar Jackson runs the ball, which he is doing a lot lately. So, at the end, it's the Bills D, it's the fucking great defense, but they aren't going to be putting up 15, 20 points against Baltimore. I just can't see that happening. So Vic is the slight dog in this one. It's really close. It's 130.6 to 128. Both Ben and him have tough matchups this week. It's tough to take Vic in this one just because he's got Russell Wilson. But I mean, and that Buffalo defense I think isn't gonna stand out. But Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews I think is his big ones. And then for Ben, it could be Kyler Murray. If McCaffrey doesn't play, it's going to be really, really tough for Ben to win, especially because his backup running backs all have tough matchups this week. I have to lean. Sorry, Ben. I have gone 0 for 2 on picking both the Sterner brothers in this one, but I have to maybe lean Vic a little bit. Just the matchups are just slightly a little bit better. And finally, we have Liv and Case. Now, you can ask Liv. I've talked to Liv about this before, and she already pretty much is waving the white flag. Tough to argue with her, to be totally honest with you, just because Casey's team is fucking stacked, and they are kicking the fuck out of everybody right now. Like I said, he's projected 140 points, which is crazy. I haven't gotten anywhere near 140 points in any of my weeks. So for him to be projected at that is crazy. But let's see what we got here. So Justin Herbert is still a kind of a sticky situation. He is playing hurt. He's got like shattered rib cartilage, and he's still trying to kind of play through it. He tried to play through it in Jacksonville and struggled. He put up less than 15 points, and Jacksonville kicked the shit out of those guys. It's tough because if he plays, it's like, do you play him and take the risk of him? What if he gets fucking obliterated on a sack with those injured ribs? Then there's a good chance he's either going to suck the rest of the game or even fucking be out right there on the spot. Or do you take a chance at somebody else and divert from a good matchup with the Chargers offense against Houston? It's a toughie. And then Derrick Henry was very much more Derrick Henry last week. He had 20 rushes for 85 yards and a touchdown, and he had 58 yards in the air too. So Derrick Henry, that was kind of his big breakout game of the season. I think we see plenty more of that against Indianapolis, who have it kind of just depends what Indianapolis team we see, but Derrick Henry is going to feature a ton in that offense, so not a bad matchup there. Devin Singletary, he was great last week against Miami. Surprisingly caught a ton of passes, 78 yards and a touchdown on 9 catches, which is weird for him. I feel like he's never been kind of a pass-catching running back, but 24 points for him against Miami. They very well could use him in a similar role against Baltimore, where Baltimore is going to be way more beatable in the air. Could very well see a lot of little dump passes to Singletary. So I think he could be in for a similar spot like he was against Miami. CD Lamb, I think he's gotten better in each 3 games. He started really slow against a tough matchup in Tampa Bay, put up 15 against Cincinnati, put up 22 against the Giants last week. I think he can get around there, if not a little bit better, against Washington. That's just a bad team, bad defense. A game that should have a lot of points in it. Love CeeDee Lamb. He's still obvious number one pass catcher. Lamb's in a good spot. I think Metcalf, too. He kind of had his breakout game of the season last week against Atlanta. He had a touchdown catch for 17.4 points. That should be airborne the whole time. It seems like every game that involves the Detroit Lions has to be in the air. So I think Metcalf is in a good spot for double digits in that one. Don't know if I can say the same about George Kittle. That game I don't think is going to have a lot of points in it against with him and the Rams. He put up 6.8 against the Broncos. He had 4 catches for 28 yards. I think it's kind of going to be a similar situation for him on Monday night against the Rams. Indy defense, they're projected pretty well against Tennessee. Again, you just run in that situation. You got Derrick Henry playing your own defense. I advocate against doing that, but Tennessee turns the ball over a lot. So, I mean, you could maybe get the best of both worlds out of that one. So, yeah, I don't know. That's not my favorite defensive matchup, but it could be worse, I guess. But like I said, when you play your own players against your defense, you're kind of asking for whatever kind of happens there. As for Casey, some really, really good matchups this week. Jalen Hurts against Jacksonville, fucking fantastic matchup. Jalen Hurts is the man. He should smoke Jacksonville, both in the air and on the ground. Najee Harris against the Jets. Jets, very, very beatable rush defense. Najee Harris, I think, gets in at least once. Same with Nick Chubb. Same exact situation against Atlanta. Betcha he gets in. I think he chews up that defense. Great matchup for Nick Chubb. Stephon Diggs, great matchup against Baltimore, who have been getting fucking cooked in the air. I think Diggs finds the end zone. I could see like 80-plus yards and a TD for Diggs. Waddle has not really been too much of a factor. It hurts that his starting quarterback fucking died on the field here right before halftime, but as of right now, he's got 2 catches for 39 yards. The game's close, so they're definitely gonna keep trying to use him. But if Waddle can get in, it's an even bigger boost for Case than he already has. But it would be pretty big for Liv if they can keep Waddle under control. Curtis Samuel has been really good to start the season. All 3 games, double-digit points. He's the number 12 wide receiver right now in fantasy. Yeah, they're going to have to throw the ball against Dallas, and he's catching a lot of passes right now. So I think somewhere around his average, which is like 13-ish points, 12, 13, 14, I think that's very doable. And if he can get in the end zone, it's even better. And then the Arizona defense against Carolina, I'll like that one way more if McCaffrey's out, and so will Case. That becomes like one of the top streaming defenses this week with no McCaffrey, because that offense will struggle mightily without him. And they have been with him. Baker Mayfield, I think, has the worst pass completion percentage in the league right now. He's statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So definite boost if McCaffrey doesn't play. But even if he does, it's pretty good matchup for Arizona. So Case is a huge favorite here, biggest favorite of the week, 138.9 to 127. I honestly, sorry, Liv, I'm doing no right by my loved ones and my blood relatives, but you could even ask Liv too. She's not hopeful. I think Case walks away with this one pretty easily. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see if Matt can get off the bottom at 0-3 here, and we'll see if Case can keep storming away at 4-0. But yeah, it's like I said, it's been a weird start to the fantasy season here. Just low scoring and run. Right now they're like almost like no great running backs. And it's just been weird, it's been weird. But, for guys like Case and for everybody that's 2-1, they're not complaining about it at all. But, for us, plebs at 1-2, and for Matt at 0-3, we're wondering what the fuck is going on. Like, when is it going to be our turn? But, we'll see. We'll see. So, anyway, yeah, I know you guys are probably wondering, or probably nobody is, but like some of you, I know Case literally just texted me saying like, where is there an email today? And it's like the answer is no, but I'm hoping to get this edited, get this out by the end of tonight, if not tomorrow morning. So Thursdays, if I can manage it, Thursdays are probably going to be for the podcast. Tuesdays will be the email, and if there's something I want to bug you guys with in the middle of the week or just some random day during the week, like I did this week, I might just send out another like little random email, but I'm going to go ahead and try to get this edited, get this out to you guys by hopefully the end of the night. I tried to keep it low. I think we're at just over an hour. So by the time I edit this down, it should be a little bit under an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. So should be a little bit more listenable. So you guys take care. I will talk to you on Tuesday, and we'll see how this shit gets going on the weekend. Peace.